How to start reselling on Vinted in 2026. If you're looking to make a minimum of 500 plus profit a month, then this video is for you. So who am I though? I'm Baston, aka CFA Baston. Having grown my socials combined to over 100k on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And if you've been following my content from the start, you know I was doing sneaker resale content to begin with. That was sneaker flips, sneaker bottom, but I used to just sell like loads of different things. Anything that made money, like GPUs, I used to buy, I used to sell, I used to make the profit. But alongside content, reselling is one of my income streams. I do streetwear reselling, Vinted reselling, doing upwards of 100k revenue on that. And I have been reselling since I was 15. I'm 23 now, so I got a lot of years in the game. Now I'm doing mainly vintage and streetwear. I ain't really doing sneakers no more. When you're working with certain brands, I can't really be sneaker botting. It just goes against it, you know what I'm saying? Now enough about me, let's get straight into the video. Before I run you guys through how to start, you gotta ask the question first. Why even start reselling on Vinted to begin with? Well, Vinted, if you didn't know, is by far one of the biggest platforms right now. eBay, Grail, Depop, they can't chat to Vinted. Everyone either buys or sells on Vinted. You're probably watching this video and I know you got Vinted downloaded. For us as sellers, it's the perfect platform to use. They're literally dominating the market. That means alongside the existing user base, there's always consistently a new influx of users. They do all the work for you in terms of marketing, so all you have to do is start selling. Let me just give you a case study. So I started a new Vinted account this July and I've already grown it to nearly 500 reviews and 10k plus in revenue on low ticket items. This is proof that it's literally one of the easiest platforms to start a new account and begin to grow and sell on. I'm not exaggerating too. Growing an account on Vinted is so easy. All you need is the product, consistently uploading daily, and you're going to be churning it in. Now let's get to the main part of the video, which is about starting. Now the most essential thing when you're starting out on Vinted is the stock, because if you don't have the stock, how are you going to make the profit? Now let me put you onto 3 different ways that you're able to source stock. The first thing you could do is buying items on Vinted and then flipping it back onto Vinted. This is called Vinted flipping, and in 2025 it's become super popular because it's so easy to do. You simply scroll through looking for products, buying it at a low price, selling it for a higher price than what you've bought. One of the main ways people were doing vintage flipping in 2025 was using a Vinted monitor. A Vinted monitor is basically a computer program that literally scans through everything on Vinted and lets you know when something's been uploaded by a seller. These monitors are being used and they're so good due to the fact that it filters by price, by brand, by size. There's literally so much you can do with it. A monitor isn't necessarily like an essential that you need when you're starting Vinted flipping. The good thing about Vinted is when you're scrolling through the phone, the AI is going to show you more of the stuff that you're looking for. So for example, if you're looking for like low ticket items, stuff that you want to resell, it's just going to show you more of the same. Though this is slightly harder than just using a Vinted monitor, it's still really lucrative in the long run. All you really need is patience, time, and to be looking consistently. Now, the best time to be looking for stills when you're doing vintage flipping tends to be on the weekend. By the time this video has come out as well, it's going to be post-Christmas, so you're going to have the Christmas rush and January, where you're going to see a lot of people selling their old items. During Christmas, a lot of people get new clothes, so their old stuff, they're going to be listing it on Vinted. This is prime time for you to be doing Vinted flipping. Things like clothes, shoes, gadgets, accessories, all of this is going to be on Vinted right now for you to go look at. So now would be like the prime time for you to be buying. The second way to source stock would be using wholesalers. Wholesalers are basically people that buy in bulk from places like Pakistan, India, just across Asia in general. The categories of products with wholesalers vary so much. If you go on a wholesaler site, they'll be selling stuff like Ralph Lauren, Carhartt Dickies, Rolltree, Wrangler. There's so much different products you can choose from. If you guys want that, I can go and review wholesalers or tell you like some of the best products I'd recommend buying from them. Make sure you're subscribed and you like the video, and I'll bring you that video next. Now with wholesalers, I'll be 100% honest with you. Sometimes it's really hit and miss. I remember one time I bought some like t-shirts and I didn't even break even. You've got to be careful with them because some of them will tell you this is how much it roughly sells for, but they'll just send you a bunch of nonsense. You've got to do your due diligence so you don't get burnt. But if you're really just starting out and you don't have a lot of money, I would not recommend you starting off with wholesalers. One thing to note that when you're buying from wholesalers, you're not protected by consumer law. So that means if you want to return a product, they don't have to give you a refund. In the UK, this is just the law when you're buying from another business. If you don't want to use wholesalers or you don't have a lot of money to spend, I'd say you do option 3, which is car boots and thrifting. This is a tiny bit more effort than the previous 2, but if you're doing it consistently, trust me, you're going to find some good steals. Thrifting doesn't have to just be in your country though. You can go to other countries that are better for thrifting to thrift. For example, I always go to Italy every 6 weeks because that's one of the best places in my experiences when it comes to thrifting. Milan's been really good for me when it comes to thrifting. Naples is definitely the best one. I go to Naples every 6 weeks. The markets there is super good. And you've got places like in Spain, Madrid is really good. They've got a good thrift market. And flights, for example, from the UK to these places aren't too bad. Sometimes you get a flight for like £20. £20 to go abroad for a day or so to just go thrifting on like a weekend. It's a minor. Thrifting, in my experience though, only pays off when you're going consistently and you know what kind of items that you're looking for. This leads me on to the next part, which is understanding what to buy and sell. If you fail at this hurdle, then your whole reselling journey just starts off basically cooked. This will be the difference between those who make money on those who lose money. Best advice I can give you is don't buy blindly. Don't buy a product you haven't researched. Don't buy a product you don't know that resells for whatever amount, because you'll just be wasting your money. The one rule I want you to promise that you'll take away from this video is buy off data. And the easiest way to get data is to see what other people are selling, for example, other resellers on the platform. And this is why we choose to sell on Vinted, because Vinted lets you delve into other people's stores. You can see, for example, what they're buying, how they take their photos, how they make their descriptions, what previous products they sold. And on certain accounts, you can also see what they're selling loads of. This is all key data. If I was you, I would note down during the buying and selling process on Vinted. eBay has a great feature as well on their platform where you can see all of the previous sales of a specific product. That way you're generally able to gauge what the market trend of the product is in terms of the sell price. On Vinted, certain accounts you can see the previous sales of an account. From this you can gauge what this person's buying a lot of and also what they've previously just sold loads of as well. Now if you want, guys, I can do a whole separate video on the buying and selling process going into 2026. So I've already started buying in 2025 for my 2026 sales. Let me know in the comments if that's a video you guys want to see and I can get straight to it. I'm more than happy to make a video on my best selling products in terms of the raw data, what I've sold the most of, and how much profit I've actually made. That way you can get an idea of what kind of profit margin you can make and also how much I'm buying a product for to be able to resell it for. Now, when you get into reselling, it's important to learn how to legit check, especially when you're going down the route of reselling streetwear. This is key. You need to research things such as the tags, the labels, the stitching, so you're not buying fakes. For Vinted, if you're doing Vinted flipping and you want to buy a certain product, you need to know which tags are fake, which tags are legit. You don't want to end up buying a fake product and then trying to resell it on Vinted and then your account gets banned or the product just gets taken down. The good thing about Vinted though is 99.9% of the time they side with the buyer. On Vinted, you're always able to return a product. So if you've bought using a Vinted monitor or just on your phone, don't worry, they're going to give you a return. Especially if a product's fake, there's not really much that a seller can say. Now, I've saved one of the most important details for last. So if you're here, I know you're going to be a successful reseller in 2026. Just remember me when you're clearing, you're driving that Lambo, man. See if Baston put you on. Now, what I'm talking about is photos. Now, why are photos so important when it comes to Vinted? So when you're listing a product onto Vinted, the first thing that someone's going to see is the first product image. So that shit has got to be banging. It's got to make me feel like, yo, I need that item. You need to make it so appealing so it's got the best chance of selling. Now, this really includes just like how you're flat laying the product, the lighting, the background. These are key things you need to do. Now, what I like to do is just like the pinch method up the arms, the banger flat lays, man. All this shit you man have probably seen 20 billion times before. But the reason you've seen it 20 billion times before is because it motherfucking works, man. How you show the product is key because it's going to push you within the algorithm, which means more views, more clicks, and more sales. Keep it simple, good flat lays, good background, good lighting, and you're sorted. Specifically on background, you've got places like Canva and Photo Room where you can edit the background for like a wood effect or something like that. But I'm not a huge fan of that. I just say use an organic background, some tiling or some like wood effect was fine. I used to shoot vintage photos in my kitchen which had like a wood tiling and it was literally fine. Like I said before, it's important to look at other sellers on the platform because data is very important. Once you've done all the photography, the listings, the next step. For listings, you can look at descriptions of other sellers. So for example, if someone sold a similar product to you before, look at their descriptions, look at the hashtags, look at the listing, look how they took their photos, look at what performed for them, and you literally just need to copy it. When there's data that literally produces results, you just need to copy the formula that gets you the desired outcome. It's like a maths equation. If they're asking you to find ABC, just use the formula and input the right things and you're going to get the right answer. Now, that's all you need to know. I don't want to bombard you with loads of information and just fry your brain. I can break down specific things in a whole separate video. Now, I've got loads of videos I'm going to bring you guys helping you start reselling, and I'm also going to document my own journey reselling. So for now, take care, drop a comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.